So today we will talk about functions in Python, and in my mind it's like the very important topic. And if be honest, I really like functions in general, in Python, in R, everywhere. And I just want like to show you some visualization. Basically the idea is that we want like to write some piece of code and then be able to reuse it over and over again in our programs. And if be honest, we already saw some built-in functions in Python, such as print and length and type, for example. There will like some more. And the idea is that we can implement some code, wrap it into the function, and then we will be able to use it over and over again in our programs. And this is one of the key concepts in the programming, that we can reuse our own code in some situations. Here is just like as an example, toy example, that for example we can implement function which is called match, and you can think about it that you are trying to build a dating app. You get the profile of one person, and then you need like to find some better match option for this person, just like as an idea. And let's implement our first function. I will go over and explain you the key components of the functions in Python. For that, I will create a new folder. And then we can start. So I want to create a first function.py. And let's just copy paste it. Yeah, and this is a example of the function. So basically, if you want to specify a function, you need to put the keyword def, which is like for define. You want to define a function. Then there is a function name. In our case, the function name is greeting. And then inside of the parentheses, we put arguments of the function. In our case, we have just one argument and we called it as name. Then there is a column symbol, and inside of the column, after like column symbol, we need to use in the same way indentation as we saw for conditional statements, for while, for loops. Basically, we want to say to Python that this part belongs to the function, to function of the body, to body of the function. And here we can put as many statements as we want. In our case, we just created a variable which we called result. And result, it's simply the concatenation of several strings. So we just write hello plus name plus exclamation mark. And then we return the result. So return, it's a keyword in Python, and it means that we want to return some object from the function as a result. And now let's just try to use our function. So to use the function later on in the code, we just need to write the function name and pass argument to the function. So in our case, our function takes one argument. So let's put some name here, for example, John. And the beauty of the functions that we can reuse them. Now we can write, for example, again, same statement, but pass different argument. And so you can see that we got the results as a hello John, hello Julia. This is a first example of the function. And here are the just like a summary of what we saw. That we have a keyword def that we should use to define the function. Then we need to provide the function name. Then there is a function arguments. In our case, it was just one argument. And yeah, so then the body of the function. In general, in this case, we can just return the result right away without specifying one extra argument inside of the function. So it would be one line function, but I just split it into two. And this is an example that we saw. For example, we can print greeting and put the name Vladimir. Also, we can save result to some variable. Since our function returned the object, we can save it into the some other variable, and so we stored a result of the function to the variable called line. Yeah, so there is a node that basically it's like you can think about it as a way that you have a recipe, and then you can put some different ingredients to your recipe and get the result. Somewhat similar. Then there is guys, if you have any questions, just please stop me whenever you want. There is interesting thing about docstrings. Basically, it's some documentation for the functions. And let's just try to doc.py, create a new file, and let's just try to take a look how it works. So for example, if I write help, it's a built-in function which can provide us the docstring output. So as you can see, I wrote help, I passed built-in function print. Yeah. So without any parentheses for print, and then we got the documentation for this function. So as you can see, we got the help on built-in function print and module built-ins. Basically, we got also information about where this function stores. And then there is a explanation of this function. So print the values to a stream or to system standard output by default. Optional keyword arguments, we can specify a file like object stream, where the result will be stored. By default, we print everything to system standard output. Then there is a separator. We saw that we can use separator to specify which character we want to use to separate our values. There is the AND argument, and this one we can specify to change the final character in the print statement. So basically by default it's a new line, but we can tweak it. And then there is also flash argument. So yeah, you can play around with that too. But now the important part that we can specify docstrings for our own functions. And usually if you work on some for example, if you're working on some project which is open source, publicly available, it's better to have docstrings for your functions. In this case, people who will use your functions later on in their own programs, they will be able to get the documentation, understand what the function is doing, what is the expected input, what is the expected output. And let's just try to write our own function. In this case, let's again just copy paste the greeting function without any extra statements. So this is a greeting function, and let's try to get help of the greeting. And as you can see, so we just got that we called help function on function greeting in module main, but we don't get any output. So there is no information about how to use this function, what it does. And if you want to specify documentation, you need to put right away after the function name inside of the body of the function, right away you need to put line string, and this string will be converted to the docstring of the function. So let's just put this part. Oops. Yeah, I'll just remove all these parts, and I'll put this one. So yeah, in this case we specified the docstring for our function, which is this function creates a greeting message for the given name, and there are parameters or arguments. In our case, we expect that the name is of type string, and then there is the explanation that the string representing the name and the function returns string after it finishes the work. So a string containing the personalized greeting. Now, if we run the program again, now you can see that the greeting name has the doc string, and we got this doc string back. So, and it's very usually important in case if you want to share your programs with someone else. Because let's say that you are working on some interesting task in bioinformatics, which is not resolved yet, or in general you want like to add some functionality to already existed packages, then it's important that you specify the function, then you provide the documentation for it. Otherwise, other people will not be able to use it in most cases. I mean, you can try to open the source of the function and try to go over, but it's very annoying. Usually you want to have some information about how to use the functions. Yeah, next, there is a part about function arguments. We saw that in our first case, our function took one argument, but in general, it could be arbitrary number of arguments. Sometimes you can even omit all arguments and just use function without anything. Let's check these two examples. Let's create args.py. Yeah. And in this case, we want to specify two functions. And now let's print, for example, pi constant. And we need to call the function by using the parentheses anyway. So let's just run it, and we got the constant value. But in case if you forgot to put the parentheses, it will not be a function call. It will be just, so let's check. It's just as an object, that there is a function as an object stored somewhere in the memory. Yeah, so it's you should like to separate it. If you want to call the function, use parentheses. If you want to use function object itself, you don't need to put parentheses. And now let's also take a look on some examples with just like with custom sum, so that we can use print custom sum, and we can provide arguments to this function. So for example, 10 and 5. And it works. Okay, guys, let's now convert it a little bit to interactive session. So I want to hear from you what kind of functions you would like to implement for yourself that would help you in your work. I don't know, somewhere. So let's just couple examples.
For extraction of data from maybe file with complex structure, like for example, GFF3 annotation, a lot of lines, and you may define function how to extract using some data.
Nice, and then you can reuse it for different files, right?
Every time, yes.
Yeah, nice. Let's do one more example, guys.
Finding mean of the list, sometimes it can be tricky because by default Python uses bankers mean.
So which mean by default it uses?
It uses bankers mean, so by default it will try to approximate mean not as a mathematical strict mean, but as even number. So 4.5 will be approximated as 4 instead of 5. It's a long, complicated tradition, so if you have a lot of mean calculation in your code, sometimes it's easier just to define your own mean function as usual, like sum everything up and divide by the number of elements.
I see. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah. So let's then go to the next example. So here we can see that what's gonna happen if we don't provide sufficient amount of the arguments in our program. So let's print custom sum, and now we will put just one argument, let's say 10. And we got the error that the custom sum missing one required positional argument B. Basically, we specified the argument for A, but B doesn't have any value by default, and because of that we got an error. Yeah, there is a point that when we put arguments in this case, so here this is I think important to show. Let's create a new file. I'll call it like positional arguments.py, and let's just put the function custom division. Now we executed it and we got 0.5, which is basically means that 1 is assigned to A and 2 is assigned to B inside of the function, and then we return the result of the division. But sometimes you want to change the order, so you want like to put as the first argument the value for B, and then for the second one A. For that you can use names. So we can write B is equal to, let's say, 1 and A is equal to 2. So in this case we used names for specifying what kind of value we want to assign to the arguments. Now in case if we run it, we got the different result, but the values were like 1, 2, but we specified it with names. Yeah, so and this is an example. Yeah, and you can see, so it's called keyword arguments when we provide a name for the argument. Yeah, now let's check about default arguments. For this I will create a new file. I will call it defargs default arguments.py. Let's open it. And here is an example. So we have, in the same way, we have function, we call it greet. Then there is a first argument name, and then there is a second argument which is called message. But as you can see, we can specify the value for this argument, and this is a default value that will be used inside of the function. And then you can tweak it. You can provide the second argument for the function, and it will replace the default value. But in case if you, for example, specify just one argument, you will not get an error as we had before when we had A and B for custom sum without any default values. So, and this is an example that here we replaced message hello by hi. Inside of the result, we will get hi, white space, the name, which is Alice. And if we put just Bob, then we get hello Bob. This is about default arguments that you can specify them. And also important part that probably default arguments should be after the positional arguments. So you cannot put default, so some arguments which have default values before some positional arguments. So let's just try to tweak it a little bit. Let's say that I want to put it in the way that message is hello and then name. You can see that non-default argument follows default argument. So basically it's an error. And this is, I believe, I think that, for example, in R it's implemented in another way, but I'm not sure. Yeah, this is about default arguments. Okay, guys, let's try to implement our own function. As it was like in the example about match, we want to implement the following function. I will explain you the task. let's create a new file. I'll call it match.py. Let's open it. And the idea is to implement function match, which takes two arguments. So p1, p2. And then it should return, like, let's say true or false. I'll put it as a comment, return true or false. And basically p1 and p2 are lists with interests of the persons. So let's say that p1 could be, for example, I don't know, let's say chess and photo. And p2 is, in this case, let's say chess and photo 2. And in case if the intersection is, so for example, let's say that if intersection is greater than 3 or 2, greater or equal to, we will get match. Let's say that it's true. Otherwise, it's false. So let's try to feel ourselves as, you know, like this Guzeva, and there is a TV show, Guzeva, and how it's called, Rosa. So we are trying to build a match function. So guys, I hope that you got the description of the task. Let's try to implement it. You have some time, let's say like 5-10 minutes, and then we will try to take a look on it. So guys, any updates? Are we ready to send our solution to the first channel? Yeah, nice, nice. So let's wait a little bit more. Yeah, guys, if you have a solution and you want to share it, you can send it to the Telegram chat. Or you can just like shout and say like, oh, I want like to share it. Okay, come on, return true. Looks good, looks good. Let's just put it down and let's check. So common is a set of p1 and a set of p2, basically. So we identify the intersection here and then return true if length of common, oh my god, length of common is greater or equal than 2, and else false. Now let's check it. Let's check it with a print match of the same example. So we have chess and photo. And then again, chess and photo. And then we need to run it. And it's true! We found a match! Yeah, so... And let's try to put something else, guys. So give me some options. So guys, let's try to match some of you. I need like one person to specify some interests. Let's do it. Let's do it. Don't be shy. You can just like lie to me. You don't need like to put real ones. And then we will ask another person, and you will find. Or I'll put mine. I'll put mine. Let's do it. So guys, please. No one wants to find the result? Shoot. Okay, I'll do myself. So basically, okay, let's do chess. Photo, basically it's the same. Then let's put some how to put it properly. Let's put rep. Let's put something else. Let's put calisthenics. I don't know how it should be written. And let's put some like other things. So let's say that person likes I don't know, flowers, likes reading, and let's like biking. No, let's put running, and also what else? Bioinformatics. And let's check. Is it a match or no? No, shoot, huh? Not a match. Guys, okay, so what are your thoughts about this solution? Is it good or no in general for life? So let's try to think about it that we indeed are working in some how it's called, like dating app, and they are saying, so this is your task is like to implement some function to find matches. Is it good or not, in your opinion?
It uses just simply arbitrary value too, so you can improve it with some function.
For example, can you give some example?
The most basic one is to take percentage, like
Yeah.
not two, but at least 40% of the length of the list of interests.
Okay. For both of them or for the union of them, how would you? So for example, I can measure the percent for the first person, for the second, and if it's like big enough, then
So calculate it for both and then take the minimum.
okay.
If at least one is false, then both are false.
Sounds good, guys. Can we improve our function? Let's spend 5. So I want like to get a solution, you know, and then like use it in real life. So let's try to implement the one that Dastan just mentioned. So we want like to measure not just so here we have some like some number, right? But let's now put def match, and then again p1, p2, and then we will put threshold. And threshold, let's say 0.4, like as a. So I mean, like it's like for 40%, right? And then we want like to implement our function. This one we will comment, and the idea is, yeah, guys, if you didn't get the task description, then just please ask, and I will try to explain it in more details. But let's spend like 5 more minutes. Let's try to nail it down, implement the best function for finding the match.
Could you please explain the task once more? The threshold for what?
So the threshold is yeah, let's say, so we have intersection. It's some values from the list, I don't know, some values. And now we want to measure the what is the percent, so we can check how to put it properly. So we have P1 and we want to measure what is the percent. It's basically P1 and intersection. It's like a length of this thing divided by length of P1. And then the same for the second one. So length P2 and intersection divided by length P2. Then we need to find minimum among these two values. So it's V1, V2. And if it's greater or equal than threshold, we are saying that this is a match. Otherwise, it's not a match. So basically, the idea is that we have interest of the one person, of the second person. We can find shared interests. And if it's a big intersection for both persons, then we are saying, okay, they probably will match. Otherwise, we'll say no. So for so something like that. Because P1 and P2, they are not of the same size in our case. They could be arbitrary number of interests for one person, for another one. And because of that, we want to address this thing. Yeah, I probably even can try to do it with the PowerPoint. I like PowerPoint. Let me just... So the idea is to have... We have P1, P2. Let's put some nice colors. While you're doing it, I'll... So yeah, we have P1 and P2. Right? Then we have intersection. And P1 can be, for example, different sizes. And then we have intersection. For this one, we need to fragment. And this is an intersection. So this is an intersection. This is so something like that, right? This is our interests. On the left, it's a interest of the first person, of the second one, and this is a intersection. Now we want to measure the percent here, which is what is I percent out of P1. And then the same for this part. Oops. Let's say that this is our... Okay. So yeah, then we have this thing. And we want to find what is the I percent out of P2. It's like very rough. And then if this is the final solution, if let's say that we called it the result is R1, R2. If minimum of R1, R2 is greater or equal than the threshold, we want to return true, else false. So something like that. Yeah, guys, I tried my best with PowerPoint. And while you are working, let's try to think about it. So basically, this is a very abstract now picture, right? And we can say now that, for example, that P2 this is a, I'll remove this part because it's not needed for me. I don't need it now. So we have P1, we have P2. And let's say now that P1 is not interests. It can be anything. It can be, for example, I don't know, let's say that this is a... Again, let's try to bring some biology here. And I probably already mentioned it. So it could be variable features of sample 1. And then this is a variable features of sample 2. And then we are saying, so I, this part, it's shared features between S1 and S2. And then we can think about it as a way that, okay, are the samples somewhat similar to each other based on some threshold in terms of the variable features? But also you can think about it as a dating app, which is like similar. Okay, guys, let's spend 2 more minutes, and then if you have a solution, just like send it to the chat. I'll be happy. I don't know about you, but I'll be really happy. I'm like, okay, this day is nice. Wow, we got something. Okay, so there is a death match. Yeah, there are like some very complicated things. P1 list, P2 list, threshold 0.4 bool. Let's just copy and paste it. And let's go over together. So this is our new implementation of the function. I will comment this one. So I'll remove this part, guys, because for us it's not very important, but it's a very good way to implement functions. Because I didn't explain them today, but if you're like very interested about what does it mean, all this like P1 column list, please text to the help topic and say like, Dastan, what does it mean? I want to know what does it mean, please. And I think that Dastan will be very happy to tell us about what does it mean. Yeah, so in general, there is the way, basically, yeah, I will just like say a couple more words. In general, sometimes, for example, if you look on this function, right, we don't know in advance what is a P1, P2. And you can specify typing, the expected type of the object by using this syntax that Dastan used. And then it's much easier to understand what function takes as input and what it returns as the output. And basically, this were like instructions about what is the expected types of the objects. In our case, we will just omit it. We will be very kind of not very good programmers, but anyway. So here we have P1, P2. We find the overlap, but by using set P1, set P2. And then if length of overlap greater than or equal than threshold multiplied by minimum of this len P1, len P2, we return true, return false. So guys, what do you think about this solution? Any comments? So let's check it with the same examples. So with the same examples, they work in the same way. But now let's try to print match. And now we have chess, photo, rap, calisthenics. I'll put it in this way. Yeah. And then we have also, let's say here like biking. And now let's put something. So now we have the person who also like photos, somehow rap, and let's say biking. And then there are some others, flowers and bioinformatics. And let's just check it. And it's true. Nice. Because we have overlap, which is a photo, rap, and biking. So it's like 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5, it's more than 0.4 in this case. And here we have, again, 3. It's like 1, 2, 3 out of 5. It's again greater than 4. But in case if we add here some other nasty things, so for example, Python, also R, also, I don't know, like next generation sequencing. Again, we got true. Is it like a correct one?
It takes minimum, so it doesn't matter that we change the second one because it's still checking for the length of P1.
Okay.
So easier example will be just to make second person have only one element. In that case, it will always be true if at least this one element overlaps.
Okay. So guys, any comments? No? So okay, no. Then let's go to the next part. So here we describe the function arguments, default arguments. Now let's check arbitrary number of arguments. We will start with it's like arbitrary number of arguments .py. Here is our example with custom mean. All right. But now let's say that we want like to be able to use this function with arbitrary number of arguments. I want like to write print custom mean out of 10, 5, minus 10. And I get the error because it takes just like 2 positional arguments, but 3 were given. And in this case, we can adjust our function by using the following syntax. So we can put star args and then, yeah, so the result is again, it's like the same b if a is greater or equal than b, else a. And now we can just, for element in args, check res is equal to res if res is less or equal than element, else element. I believe something like that. And then we want to return result. Let's just execute it and it works. And basically, so this is a way how you can say that I expect arbitrary number of arguments. Let's put here more, for example, 0, 100, minus 100. And now it works again. And this is a syntax, but let's check what's stored. In args, we have. And then we can just use args. So as you can see, in args, we have a tuple. It's a tuple with all these values. And basically how it works, Python assigns 10 for A, 5 for B, and everything which goes after will be packed and stored in star args. And then args, it's a name for this object, which is a tuple. And because of that, we go through each element inside of our tuple and we get the final result as a custom minimum value of the list. Yeah, you can use anything as a name instead of args. You can use arguments, but args, it's more common and you will see it in many cases in the internet if you're like working. Yeah, there is also there is a so yeah, I suggest you to go and to look on this like tutorial about Python and functions, and there are some examples about how you can specify. So there are like a lot of information about arguments and how they should be specified, what is a proper order. And as you can see, here we have, for example, the argument kind, and then we can wrap everything into the arguments by using one star. And also you can wrap everything to keywords. Let's just check example. Do I have some example on the website? Yeah, probably I don't have. But let's try to come up with some example. I'll just put def, and let's say that we have function. Let's say that this is a, let's call it interests. And we expect to have, for example, the main interest and secondary. And then we will say that we have all other named arguments as a kw args. And we want to create an object, I will call it D, as a dictionary. So, and we want to put main is main, secondary is secondary. And then for key value in KW args. So basically KW args will be a dictionary. So let's just implement it and then I will explain what does it mean. So then we want to d keys and then return d. And now let's say that we run it interests as a, so main interest is like, let's say chess, secondary is photo, and let's just run it. So, and we got the dictionary that the main interest is chess, secondary photo. But now we can put also here, for example, let's say we need like to put some name. I will call it A as a, so let's say that it's biking, B is running. And now if we run it, we got an error, okay. To unpack. Ah, okay, yeah, my bad. So we need to use items. So yeah, and now we got that A is biking, B is running. Basically, all named arguments that we pass to our function will be stored as a dictionary in KW args. So let's just check it. Print. We have inside of KW args. So as you can see, all these values, and it can be arbitrary number of them, will be stored in KW args. But we cannot, for example, put here anything else as a, I don't know, let's say that we put flowers just as a one extra argument. It will not be stored in KW args because we didn't provide the name for it. So we got an error. And in case if you want to handle somehow these values, you need to put this like args with 1 star. In this case, it will not change anything because we don't use it. But at least the program will not crash with an error. So guys, is it super unclear, or at least like a little bit unclear, or clear? But anyway, so guys, I suggest you to go over, because there is like more information about all type of the arguments and how they can be specified. I really encourage you to go. So yeah, this is the general definition that function can have. There is a positional argument, then there is yeah. So please go over it and you will be professional in all this type of options. Yeah, why I don't cover it like very in details, because usually, so you will definitely use it, but the most cases in our like course, it's not needed probably. I don't remember exactly all this function, all these homeworks, but I think that in most cases you will just need probably to use args, and that's enough, without all this like complicated ordering of all different possible arguments inside of the function. Yeah, so also we can unpack values by using the star or asterisk. Here how it works. Let's create a new file, and I will call it unpacking. And here we have, so we have function def@, which takes 3 arguments, and then we have list of 3 arguments. And then we can put star in front of the list, and then these values will be unpacked. And it works. But in case if you don't put it, oops. In case if you don't put it, we will face a problem, because in this case we pass just list as a first argument. So in this case, values assigned to A, and we don't have B, C, and this is a problem. So it's an error. But now we can unpack them, and in this case, we unpack values 1, 2, 3, and they will be assigned 1 for A, B for 2, and 3 for C. And it works. Yeah, so there is also example that you can unpack with double asterisks. In case if you have a dictionary, you can in the same way unpack values by using double asterisk, and then it works. So for you can see hello, we provided name to the person as Alice, and you are 30 years old. Oh. Yeah, also there is like there is a point about return statement that by default function always returns something. It doesn't matter, did you specify return or not? Let's check this example. I will call it return examples.py. And here we have a function def custom sum a and b. Result is equal to a plus b, and then there is a custom. We call this function with 0 and 5. But as you remember, in the beginning I showed you that we used return keyword statement to return the value from the function. In this case, we don't have explicit return, but as I said, by default any function returns something. Let's just execute this program, and you can see that by default any function returns none. None is a specific object inside of the Python which stands for nothing. That basically we use the function and we didn't return anything. And by default it returns none. In general, we can use explicit return none to make it more clear for other persons what's happening. But as I said, so by default it returns none, and in case if we want to return our result, we need to provide it inside of the return statement. Also, if you have anything out which goes after the return statement, these lines will not be executed. So let's say that we still inside of the body of the function, and now we want to use result is equal plus equal 10, and then return result. And you can see that my editor saying that this code is unreachable because this return will finish the work of the function. You see that we didn't change the value later on inside of the function. This is a in my mind important part. Yeah. So yeah, also there is one important thing, that if you want to check that something is none, don't use equal operator. So check that something is none. Don't use, for example, a is equal none. It's better to use is operator. It's a specific operator in Python. So in case if you want to check that, let's say that 1 is none, or like none is none. So in first case we got false because 1 isn't a none, and none is true. And for none you should like just memorize it that it's better to use is operator than equal. Yeah, so now recursion, guys, it's like the most favorite part. Have you already seen some recursions in the discrete math? So you have, right? Okay, and then probably you're already familiar with the concept. In case if we are trying to go to the google.com and then we put recursion, you can see the Eastern egg, right? So I wrote it properly, but then Google asks me, did you mean recursion? So basically this is the idea of the recursion, that the process is like repeats itself over and over again. So if I press and press and press. So this is basically recursion. Also, you can see it in real life in case if you put two mirrors in front of each other, you will see this like infinite images inside of the mirrors, right? And in programming, what does it mean? The recursion, that we can call function inside of the function body. So let's say that we want to implement the function which is a factorial of the n. And we know that if n is equal to 1, we need to return 1. But otherwise, we write return n multiplied by factorial of n minus 1. And this is an example where I try to show it. So here we have, let's say that we called our function with argument 5. And how it works, so 5 is not 1, right? Because of that, we will, inside of the function, call 5 multiplied by factorial of 4, as it here. Then factorial of 4 is not equal to 1, and then because of that, we will not execute this part of the program. We will go and execute 4 multiplied by factorial of 3, and so on. 3 multiplied by factorial of 2, and then we will reach 2 multiplied by factorial of 1. And in this case, factorial of 1, we will return 1. So you can see that this is replaced by 2 multiplied by 1, and this value now it's basically factorial of 2, this value is factorial of 3, and we will just like replace them, and we will go and we will calculate the final result. And this is the result for factorial of 5. Let's just copy paste it. Let's create it's factorial dot py open, and this is and now we can print factorial of 10, and this is a value for factorial of 10. In case if we use just print of factorial of 1, it will work as expected. So I hope that this is clear. Guys, let's, for the rest of our lesson, let's try to implement recursion for the, let's say, for what kind of task? Okay, let's do typical one for Fibonacci numbers, okay? Do you know the sequence of the Fibonacci number? So we want to implement the function which is called fib, and it takes n, and we should calculate the number for this like a nth number of in the sequence of Fibonacci. And we know that Fibonacci sequence is like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on. So basically, this value is the sum of these two. This value is the sum of these two. This value is the sum of these two, and so on. And we want to implement, so basically fib of 1 should return 1, fib of 2 should return 1, fib of 3 should return 2, fib of 4 should return 3, and so on. And basically we want to use recursion to calculate this to calculate this value, because we know that fib of n is equal to fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. We want to use this recurrent expression. And then after you implement it, I want to hear from you. Is it a good implementation? I mean, typical one or not? And why? If you have any ideas in your mind. Okay, guys, you have some time. Let's just do it. Guys, did you already get this term projects, or how it's called? Where people coming and they're like, okay, this is a project, you can join me and work on some project.
We had presentations and we have sent our list of interested topics.
I see.
I guess majority didn't start doing it yet.
Okay, okay. So guys, and what do you think in general about the program? I mean, this bioinformatics. You can be honest. You can be honest. I will not tell anyone. I'll just publish it to YouTube, but I will not tell anyone.
And now it's more abstract,
Mm.
not about bioinformatics more. Like a lot of math of numbers, but no practical implication. I don't see any practical implication, honestly.
I see, I see. But guys, next term, you'll be amazed, I think. You will be amazed, because definitely you will have like some lectures, lessons, which are like really related to the bioinformatics. It's like usually in the life, right? So we start from like some not really related things, probably. For example, if you want to learn how to draw in this schools, they usually draw some like squares, circles. I'm like, what the point? But then in the end, you are like able to draw anything that you want, because complex things, they composed of this from these simple parts. But Evgenia, we implemented today the function match, which can be used for variable features. It's like very related to bioinformatics, super related. I think. So, okay, guys, do we have solution for this nasty task? Opa, we got one. So def fib of n, if n is equal to 1, return 1, if n return... Okay, let's run it. I will implement it. So def fib of n, if n is equal 1, or I'll put it something like that, but basically the same. Return 1, and else return fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. And then let's print fib of 3. Let's start with a simple one. I will remove this part. Okay. Oops. What happened? Okay, and we got 2, which is nice. Then 4. We got 3. 5, we got 5. So it works. It works. But if we put something like crazy, let's say like 100, you can see that it's like very slow. I hope that it will not crash anything beside this thing. Yeah. So yeah, here we have another solution with for loop. And let's just check it. Does it work better or no in this particular case? Yeah, so you see I just like stopped the program because it didn't finish. And now let's implement this one. I'll just copy paste it. And this one I will remove. And in this case it works. And guys, so the homework for you, or probably you already saw if it was like on the discrete math, sometimes recursion is not the optimal solution, because in this case you can see we had like a linear tree, so linear tree of our function calls. But for Fibonacci numbers, if you try to draw how it looks like, you will find out that there are like a lot of nodes which are like exactly the same, and you need to recalculate them over and over again. So that, and because of that, this is a not very good solution for this particular task, even though that the expression is super like recurrent one. Yeah. So yeah, guys, please try to take a sheet of paper, try to draw it, and then you will get the insight. You like, okay, I see it. Now I see the picture. And yeah, so I think that that's it for today. I was thinking about that we can implement also GCD using the recursion. Yeah, so I see that your first one you called even in the better way, right? You even gave a proper name for the Fibonacci. Okay, so that's it, guys, for today. again, if you have any question, then please feel free to ask them. I think that I will post a new homework assignment around weekend, maybe beginning of the next week. Yeah, that's it. And next week, guys, we will now like really programmers. So basically, as you can see, now we covered functions, and this is a very important part. So you are like in R, there are like a lot of functions, and next one it's modules and packages. So we will go over modules and packages, and at some moment, guys, it's like very impressive. We will build our own package, and then you will be able to put it on the GitHub. Yeah, you will be able to put it on the GitHub, and you can like, okay, guys, now you can use my package in your own programs, and you will get a lot of stars on the GitHub account. You're like, okay, I'm like a star now. So this is the idea. But besides that, yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate everyone. So guys, I really appreciate everyone who is like joining the lessons with cameras on, because otherwise it's like, you know, like a couple years ago when I was in St. Petersburg, I was doing it offline, and it's much better. You see everyone. So people sitting there, like they're like in their phones, they're like, I don't know, talking with each other. Much fun. It's like much more fun. When it's like I'm sitting alone and I see a couple people, but I really like, so it's like respect, guys, respect. We are together. Yeah. So okay. See you next time, guys. See you next time.